Explorers, welcome back to the Starfield Lorecast. This is your host, Tom, or Robots, and I am back with my good buddy, Dave Chaffins, and this is the show bringing you all of the latest news, all of the lore as it becomes available for the Starfield. We're just going to call it the Starfield because that makes it sound more official. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I am excited for the Starfield to give us more of the lore so that we can do the podcast.
Yeah, me too, buddy. And it's been way too long with some recent reveals, some artwork that has been released, and then especially with this whole like celebration of Skyrim, 10 years of Skyrim, and some Todd Howard interviews. It was time for us to, I guess, relaunch the show. It's been a while. We haven't really done a Starfield Lorecast in a while. So what do you think? You think it's time?
I think it's time. It has been since, I believe, March.
Yes.
Or late April, yes. Or early April that we've done it. I think it's time. I want us to get, I talked to you about this today, and I want this to kind of be like a state of Starfield. So I'm going to elect you as President Robots, and President Robots, you're going to lead us. I'm going to be I was about to say Vice President Robots, but I also kind of want to make it more fun. And so I'm going to be like Commander Robots.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna take this all the way to space. I'm pretty excited about it.
All right, Commander, and Vice President Robots.
Double rolled. Gotta do two rolls with a limited crew. You know.
Yeah. I get you. So this episode is all about the latest news that has come out for Starfield, and good old Mr. Howard has revealed some stuff. There was a IAMA on Reddit, and then there was also an interview with IGN, and he got some really good questions. And what are you laughing at? What?
I am a.
I
thought you said enema, and that is not what you said.
No, he did not have a internet enema. Although they tried to give him one, and he dodged some of those questions.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So,
woo baby.
He's good at dodging those questions. But we got some information here. So, for those of you who have listened to the previous episodes of this podcast, you knew that when we launched this show, we were a good 2 years out still from the release of the game. So those were some wild and wacky times where we were joking around with some very little information. But as we get closer and closer to the launch of the game, which is just a year out now, and we're getting some actual facts, not star facts.
Not star facts. These are real facts, my friends.
Real facts, actual images, actual footage, actual information from Mr. Todd Howard, then this show is going to become more and more serious. So strap into your seat as we actually launch into the stratosphere, because this is some real stuff. So for our first article for the day, we have an article, and this information is widely available in multiple sources. These are just some of the articles that I pulled up in order to discuss, and we're going to quote from specific sources here. So we have NME.com, and I'm going to pull these up on screen for those of you watching on the live stream or looking on the YouTube videos. This is an article that says Starfield will have full mod support and let players choose their pronouns. And that's just the title of the article. But this article goes into a few of the questions that people had about their experiences in Starfield. And first of all, full mod support, Dave. Mr. Todd Howard was talking about this. I'm being very formal here. The Starfield, Mr. Todd Howard, because
Todd Howard, Esquire.
I think I'm very excited about this. This game is so I've been playing Skyrim Anniversary Edition, and it's just it's letting me. Getting back into that world has helped me to realize how seriously they take their games, because this game still holds up after 10 years. And the fact that they've taken, it's going to be 7 years now, I think, since they started on Starfield, and they take these games seriously. They know how much the mod community has led to the success of these games. So Starfield launching with full mod support is absolutely huge, because this game is going to be huge, but people adding more and more into this game right from the beginning, and the fact that they're going to support that right out of the gate, what do you think?
I think that's great. I was talking about Skyrim this week, and relation to the fact that it is a timeless game. I was saying that I put it in the same league as like a Super Metroid, a Mario 64, or Resident Evil 4. they are in the business of making timeless games. The mainline series that they're working on, they do a lot of like they're, maybe Fallout Shelter isn't exactly a 100% timeless game. Fallout 76 may not be a timeless game, but if you go back and look through their mainline catalog, all of those games are timeless because of the accessibility that mods give. It makes it so that Skyrim can have a 10-year anniversary. It can get re-released and everybody's playing it again just because the popularity and accessibility of it make it that way.
Yeah. Because I jumped back in, and one of the first things I did after jumping back into the game was checking out some of the new Creation Club stuff, which was co-created by modders. The second thing I did after ending my stream was load it back up later that night and increase the quality of the textures and the weather effects, which were created by modders, because I was like, well, what else can I do with it still? So there's a quote from Todd Howard here that says, "Our plan is to have full mod support like the previous games. Our modding community has been with us for over 20 years. We love what they do and hope to see more make a career out of it." And that's the other piece of this article, is that they've gone on to hire people from the modding community. This is one of their ways of vetting and finding good programmers, good devs, and bringing them on board, because people who love these games enough to spend their free time working on them and creating awesome mods are clearly going to be good developers to bring into the team.
And one thing that it's important to point out is this is on the new Creation Engine. So it's been revamped. It's like Creation Engine 2.0. I think the most advancements they've said since like the jump from like Morrowind to Oblivion. Yeah. It's kind of in that same ballpark. And getting that in the hands of people to see what they do with it, that's going to be really crazy. We even saw this year, one of my top 5 games of the year, Forgotten City, started as a mod for Skyrim. That was like it won awards just as a mod for Skyrim. And then the guy said, okay, I'm going to take a small team in Australia and make it into my own game. Like, yeah, on that level, for like a game that is set in a Nordic, like kind of a high fantasy world, to take that and say, okay, new Creation Engine, and it's in space, like the limit of what people could do, I think is beyond what most people expect.
Right. So the other thing that this article addresses is a comment from Todd Howard about creating their characters and the diversity and the complexity of the character creation. And in both the Elder Scrolls games and in Fallout, there's always been some complexity around your character creation. Now, modders have always added to that. They've increased the different races and of course all the different hairstyles, and of course you can always make an anime character or even more ridiculous things, and human proportions that go absolutely insane. Of course they've stayed with more realistic proportions and those kinds of things. But his quote here in the article says, really excited about what the team has done with the character creation here, including choosing background, skills, etc. You can pick your pronoun, he, she, they, and we've recorded all the relevant dialogue to support that choice. So, you not only have, and this addresses a few things, background, skills, background meaning, and I believe that this is kind of in line with something like, are you a spacer? Are you an earther? I have a feeling that that's what we're going to see here. And there was some dialogue around, actually there was a leak that came out with this idea that maybe your character origin is based around one of so many different planets in the system, and that you can actually have a different start to the game potentially based on the planet you start with. Now that was a potential leak, so take that with a grain of salt, but that may also affect how you start out the game. So maybe that has something to do with that. But then also the pronouns and how your character is addressed, and all the relevant dialogue, and the fact that there's he, she, and they, that now adds 50% more dialogue options for not just he and she into this game, which addresses something that I'm sure a certain percentage of the audience has never had before.
Yeah, I think one of the big criticisms with Fallout 4 was kind of the beginning, like your beginning character is kind of shoehorned a little bit, and so if you were going to play like a character like you had in Fallout 3 or New Vegas or in the prisoners in Skyrim and Oblivion, Morrowind, those you kind of had to use your imagination to be like, oh, before they were a prisoner, they maybe they went around and collected shrubs and displayed them on a shelf, like right. You like made something up in your head for it. With this, I think it's a really interesting idea to say, okay, this character that I'm making has a background, like I am choosing that this is what happened to the character beforehand. Like if you're sitting down to play, if let's say you're playing a tabletop game, when you introduce your character, you're gonna say a little bit of their background because they've done some, they're not like a newborn baby, like they've done some stuff before coming on the scene. And I feel like that is key to an RPG, is having an idea of like, this is my character as it stands and how can I evolve it from here.
Yeah. So that's what that article mostly addressed. We have now, let's move on to the second article here. We have another article. This one's from Games Radar, and this says, pull it up on screen, Starfield gameplay debut likely coming in summer 2020. Todd Howard teases. He says here, we're happy with the advancements we've been able to make. And most people think that this is a nod to E3, summer of 2022. Traditionally, they meaning Bethesda, reveal games. They have a big reveal at E3. They have their own stage time at E3. Now that they're tied with Microsoft, this might be part of an even larger Microsoft presentation where we're going to see Todd, potentially Pete Hines. Those two typically manage these, right? They get up on stage. They talk a little bit about the story of creating the game, what things you're going to expect. Then we get to see more gameplay. And then they go into some details. And I think that may be what we get. Now, think about this, Dave. E3, if it happens this year, which it might be digital again, but if it happens in person, it is November right now. E3 typically happens in June. That is 8 months away. Only 8 months.
It's not that bad. And I like the idea of them. Oftentimes games get shown off too soon, too early. It's fine to have some teasers for a thing, but to show a game and then say, okay, we're showing it in June, it's going to be out in November. That kind of cycle I like. And I'm pretty... it's getting closer. It feels like the thing that's, it's always just kind of been up there in the stars, and we're finally gonna see it be played. I think that's what sold people on Fallout 4 was there, because that's when they started doing the big E3 stuff with Bethesda, showing off the game, like that first area where he comes out into the village there and kind of walking through dialogue, and it's like, now we're gonna go over here and do this thing, like seeing those mechanics at play, because that's what Bethesda's known for, is their systems and how they interact with each other. And I think seeing that happen live, it's like watching a chemistry experience a chemistry experiment that you don't know the outcome of. Like, it feels that way, at least.
Right. So his quote here in this article is, we prefer to just show it, which should be next summer, Todd Howard says. And this is in response to a question of, do we have any hot gameplay details to share? He says, we're happy with the advancements we've been able to make, which are some you can see in the trailer shot in game. So the trailer, which was previously released and has been all over the internet for a while now. So pretty simple response, but I think that confirms that they're sticking to that date, to that schedule, and that's just what they're going to go with.
We originally, I think, speculated that it would be out this year at essentially this time. And I think that they understand, like with new IP of how it works, like new IP is very important in the video game industry. And that's really where you make your money, is by investing. You're creating like, look how big Fallout as a product is. Like, you see Vault Boyplasty, something like, people know that stuff. Same thing for Elder Scrolls. It's like Skyrim. People more likely call the Elder Scrolls games Skyrim just because of the popularity of the product that they made. Like,
right.
The property itself and how you're going to launch it. Like, you have have to make, and I think they're going to do this, make Starfield in line with Star Wars, Star Trek, where it is a giant property. And I think the extra time will help them kind of get together and figure that stuff out.
Yeah. You got some dogs who want to chime in on this too. They're so excited.
I do. Mm-hmm.
So the other news here, the next article we have, and I'll bring this up on screen too. We have Todd Howard, making Starfield was now or never, even if Elder Scrolls 6 had to wait. And this was in response to a question about like Starfield. Why, when there's so much hype around Skyrim, they've typically gone with, at least for the last while now, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Fallout. They've kind of had that cadence, right? And with Skyrim being so successful and the Fallout franchise being so successful, why take a break on that cadence and go with that now? And the IGN interviewer basically said, at this rate, it will have been roughly 15 years by the time we get to the next Elder Scrolls mainline sequel. Does that seem like a good idea? Was the question. Does that seem like, and Todd responded, he said, actually, that's a really good question. It's a really good way to phrase the question. And he said, Starfield was a game and a concept that they had been kicking around the studio for a while. And they realized that this was a now or never game, that if they were going to take the time to do something like this, that they just needed to go ahead and do it. And either it was going to happen now or it just was never going to happen. And for them, it's a dream project. So,
yeah, I agree. I think Todd Howard really wants to do this because this is the first, like, if you really think about it, this is the first like full property that he has come up with. Like Fallout, he didn't come up with, and he didn't come up with Elder Scrolls. He built those universes and made them popular like they are today. But as far as like him and his team, this is their big shot of making their world.
Yeah. He started Elder Scrolls on the Redguard game right before Morrowind, which was a hot mess, and then pulled it back to the mainline Elder Scrolls and started with Morrowind, which is a lot of people's favorites. And then continue the series from there. He has a quote here that says, would you plan to have the kind of gap let me start this over. Would you plan to have the kind of gap we're having between Skyrim and the follow-up? I can't say that's a good thing, Howard says, but I do wish I could have a wand and the game we wanted to make just came out. Absolutely. And he kind of reiterated this a few times. He kind of said, if I could just magic out these games, if I could just, with the wave of my hand, give you guys the next Elder Scrolls game and just release it as soon as it was ready and just get it out into the world and just magic out Fallout 5 and get it out into the world, absolutely I would do that. And he even made a joke about like his son, I guess it was like some holiday last year, gave him a card, and at the bottom of the card he said, by the way, what's taking Elder Scrolls so long? On the card, like he's a fan of these games too, and like people at his family are fans of these games, and if he could get them out faster he would, but at the same time he knows what it takes to do these right. And he also knows that it takes the entire studio and the talents of the studio. And I think that one of the unspoken things about this is that you can't just take the talent of the people and the experience of the people in those studios, the studios that work on these games, and just duplicate it by hiring more people. I think they probably have the money to do that. Let's say there's 120 people working on Starfield. I'm just pulling a number out of my head. Yeah. But if you were to just go hire 120 more people and say, you guys are going to work on Fallout 5 while this studio finishes up Starfield and starts working on the Elder Scrolls 6 in order to make sure that Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6 come out roughly at the same time, so we don't have to wait. That doesn't mean that we're going to get the quality of the game that we would have wanted. Because those people, the new people you hire, don't have the history, they don't have the pedigree, they don't have the same talent as the group that's been working on these games for all these years.
Right. And that's the thing. Every single game that Bethesda releases, they are riffing off of their systems. So like the jump from Fallout, like outside of Fallout New Vegas, which Bethesda didn't work on other than, providing the assets or whatever. Yeah. From Fallout 3 to Fallout 4, like there is such a jump with the addition of perks, with the addition of they are like, okay, well, how do we modernize, the systems from Fallout 3 and add on to that so that we can make our own settlements with our own villages and have you can be a raider boss and own there is so many systems at play and at work. And then we go to Fallout 76 and say, okay, how do we take these existing systems and put them in an online format? It's they're not thinking about we need to make Fallout 5 or we need to make Elder Scrolls 6. They're saying, okay, we want to continue to do these crazy ways and that's what Todd Howard and his team are known for, is making systems within games. So it's how do we jump forward with that? So you're going to see Starfield, and it's going to have a bunch of crazy, you can speculate, you can read some of the leaks, could be gravity at play in some form or fashion. You can see that stuff happening, and I don't think that you're going to get the same level of timelessness in their games if you're doing too many things at once, because then it all just kind of feels like the same old soup, a la Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. What if we got the Call of Duty or the Assassin's Creed recipe on these games? What if we spent the last 10 years and we got Skyrim 2 and Skyrim 3 and Skyrim 4 and Skyrim 5? What if we were up to Skyrim 6 or something by this point, and they just kind of farmed out all of these people to just make sequels to the sequel, which some game studios do. I mean, we've had Final Fantasy X2, those things happen. This is a real thing. We would be so burned out on the freaking series. We'd be like, okay, well, you just gave us a bunch of new locations, a bunch of new characters, but these are just the same games. We got a little bit of a graphics update. We got a few more little quests to do, but we're not actually making big jumps in the gameplay. We're not making big jumps in the world. What their studio is trying to do are make these big gameplay jumps. They're trying to like he talked about it. He wants the AI in the games to be more real. He wants the worlds to feel more real. He wants you to be more and more immersed. And there was a question that showed up in this interview. The interviewer asked, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. Asked on the new consoles, because you can change performance mode where it's a little bit lesser graphics but 60 frames per second, or all the graphics and 30 frames per second. He said, Todd, what would you play? What would you play Elder Scrolls at, the next Elder Scrolls game? And Todd was like, when it comes to Elder Scrolls games, I prefer to be immersed in the world. So I would put all the graphics up and play at 30 frames, because 30 frames still feels pretty good. But when it comes to a driving game like Forza, I want all the frames, and I'm okay with a little bit reduced graphics, because I want the reaction time for a Forza game. But for Elder Scrolls, and he made that point, for Elder Scrolls, I want to be immersed in the world. And he talked about it when it came to the development of the games. When it comes to developing the games, the first thing they work on is the soundtrack, because the music of the game sets the tone for the entire game. And you think about it, the first thing you hear when you load up Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind is that soundtrack, the sound of the music, the sound of the world. Do you remember the first time you loaded up Skyrim, Dave? And you heard I do. Theme song and the chanting and the that, it kind of gives you chills a little bit. You're like,
it does.
Or Fallout. When you hear the Fallout theme, there's a reason that stuff comes first. And if you're not immersing yourself into these games, and they're doing something different significantly from the previous game in the series, then what are we doing? Why are we even creating? And that's the philosophy with this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if I'm like really pulling it out there, like after they release this game and let's say it's as successful as Fallout 4, which was a wild success. Like, universe outside of like review scores, maybe it wasn't a 10 out of 10, it was a 9 out of 10, but like the staying power of that game is very big. I think they're going to be compelled to getting back to working in the Starfield universe. I feel like that might be something they would push for, because it is Bethesda's own. Like, Bethesda created, they didn't just like buy the property. The people are like, it is a part of their legacy that's really core to them. So and it's like throwing in Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, and Starfield 2. Like, I feel like that Starfield 2, it's crazy that we're even talking about this, is probably, they're going to want to do it within at least 10 years of releasing Starfield 1.
Do you think maybe the DLC will carry them through, though? Do you think maybe the universe will be so big and interesting that they'll be able to just add other planets, other content? Maybe this is the kind of game where they can just keep, like, the tech will be so good that they won't need a bigger jump, that they can maybe just keep on adding onto it so that exploration can continue to build out, especially with the mod base, the Creation Club content, that this might be a 20-year game.
I wish. I mean, that would be really great. The DLC that they do for all of their games is fantastic. And I mean, imagine if like, with the 10-year anniversary of Skyrim, we're adding in DLC, and you're going to go to the home of the orcs, which is like the nation besides Skyrim. Yeah. And you're going to have like, and it's in the Skyrim engine or whatever. It's just like adding on like that kind of like, and almost like an expansion, like you're playing World of Warcraft. Like, right. maybe that's the wrong
ESO
example.
What ESO does, where they add in a new zone. Yeah.
Like, think about how great that would be. And especially with a service like Games Pass, which is coming to, right. I mean, if you are saying, it's like, okay, you can have the base Starfield experience, and you can have, let me tell you, every 2 years, there's going to be like a new solar system, or I don't know what the unit of measurement is if we're talking about solar systems. I mean, right. There's a field of stars. Right. That's all we know at this point. But right. I think that would be a really good idea. I would love to see that.
Yeah, and that's a different thing than releasing a full sequel on a 2-year cycle, because it's not hyped to the level of a sequel where you expect it to be a big full release. This is more of a DLC size thing where all you expect it to be is a new location to explore, a little bit more story content for the game, and a reason to kind of jump back in. That's different than something like, Assassin's Creed, new location and new story and new main character and new all of these things, right? Because you expect that to be a brand new experience rather than just something to add into the thing you already love. I think that those are two, and I can imagine people now going, didn't you guys just kind of, take a dump on that idea? But those are two different ideas at two different levels of expectation.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we have one more article here. Dave, you want to cover this one? You brought this one to the table.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to get it right here.
Yeah.
So Bethesda, recently they had their 10th anniversary Skyrim event, and they did a special concert featuring the music of the composer of Skyrim, Einon Zur. And he's a very famous composer. He's done games like Fallout 76, Outriders, Dragon's Dogma, Dragon Age 2, a bunch of games from them, Bethesda games. But during the concert, he was like, okay, we're going to leave the world of the snowy mountains of Skyrim and go to the stars. And then he started playing the Starfield suite, which was an orchestral arrangement, I think, of the main theme. I think that's what we're getting. We're hearing, if you're a music nerd like me, you kind of hear this like na 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 kind of spread throughout all their trailers, and you're kind of like, okay, that must be like the like in Fallout where it's theme. Like ba-dum, dun, dun.
Right, the main theme melody. Yeah,
right. Yeah, you're kind of feeling the main line of that, and that's spread throughout. But during that time, there's actually been some screenshots that they posted while the band was playing over it to get you more in the mood. So there's like 11 different not screenshots, concept art that they've thrown in here, which I think is really telling of the mood of the game. Generally, Bethesda concept art is pretty, like if you look at some of the Fallout 76 concept art compared to the real game, like it's not like it's pretty similar to what you're going to find.
Yeah.
I am just the feel of these screenshots. I am really compelled by. How do you feel about it?
Yeah. And I get a lot of inspiration. I think I can tell a lot of the inspiration that they're pulling from these. And some of these we've seen before. Like some of this isn't necessarily new, but there's obviously some Star Wars here. There's like this one on the screen right now is like a crowded marketplace in a very busy kind of cyberpunk looking district.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a little bit of cyberpunk in this. There's a little bit of Firefly, Serenity in this with the way the starships look. This image here, the robot trying to fix it looks like some sort of junker hauler that's got some, steam, or it's not. Maybe that's even just smoke coming out of it. Looks like a sunset or a morning on a planet. A
lot of the environments remind me of this graphic novel from Image called Black Science. That was like it was a sci-fi comic where they were going to these like the planets, and the planets were like insane. Like just the environment of like, we are on a planet that is totally alien. It doesn't look like anything that we've seen before. None of these creatures or plants look familiar to us at all, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and then some of the areas are very human. They're very normal. Like this scene here in a hangar bay could be from The Expanse. You've got hangars and freight moving around, and it looks like just the kind of area that human beings would work in. Very very common kind of thing. A cityscape that looks again very very human, like buildings stacked up to the sky and lights in rows, very geometric patterns. And then you have areas like this one where you have what looks like a crashed ship in, I don't know, almost a post-apocalyptic landscape with what appear to be the skeletal remains of other ships or creatures, maybe. And the drippy, I don't know, what used to be trees or marshy landscape.
There's a history.
Yeah.
Like it is lived in.
Yeah, lived in worlds and multiple different kinds of lived in worlds. And I think that's part of what's so exciting about this game, Dave, is that in a game like Skyrim, we have mostly one section of a map with a few different biomes, right? It's all kind of snowy north, and then you've got like the really snowy area or the less snowy area with some bogs, and like the little bit more wooded snowy area,
right.
This is like completely different environments for different planets and different sections on planets or different cities. This and if the rumor's true that each of these planets themselves are the size of Skyrim, this game is going to be gigantic. We are going to have a very daunting job in deciphering all of the lore. This podcast could take us 20 years.
I mean, if it's at the level of detail that Bethesda is consistent with, and it is what they say it is, I mean, this is a universe that they're building. This is a universe, I think, that they're not trying to be like, Starfield is not trying to be the next great video game, because it probably will be. They're trying to beat out Star Wars. They're trying to beat out these are the people they're competing with. Like, they're competing with Lord of the Rings. Like, they're like, Elder Scrolls is doing the same thing. They're out there, Elder Scrolls, they have the card game, they have all the different stuff. Like, they're being like, okay, we're going to this mindset, like we're building this like gigantic universe that you're just going to be a part of. It's going to be a part of like the culture. Like, you're going to have stuff surrounded in Starfield, and you can be a Starfield fan. And that could mean that you this is our first game, but they could iterate off of it. They could do side projects based off of it. I mean, the Elder Scrolls has like legitimate books that you can go and read about it. Yeah. That's, to me, these screenshots tell me this is the mindset that they're going for.
Yeah. So it's super exciting. But that's what we got for today, guys. This is all the latest news. We wanted to get this out there for you so that you can be as excited as we are. Be ready, because Dave and I will be back with more semi-regular episodes from this point on. When there are some news drops, we will be getting together and giving you the news. You might get some episodes with just Dave or just myself if we've got some quick little interesting tidbits to just record and drop for you on this feed. And then as we get to maybe E3, we might start doing some regular weekly episodes as we get some like regular info for you guys.
Regular content. Yeah. I want to break down the trailers. I want to go back to even the first teaser, kind of break that down. I want to break down the E3 trailer that we saw this year, and then the videos. There's a monthly newsletter. I forgot what the website is that you can go and sign up for and get some updates. But they have been putting out these little teaser videos of different planets, different locations, different stuff. And we're going to get to those. We're going to talk about them. And it's going to be great. It's going to be fun to kind of look at the universe that they're building, and maybe do a little bit of theorizing on what this could be, on what things could be, and what we hope to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Also, one last thing, I did jump into the UESP podcast they were doing last night, and they were celebrating Skyrim's 10 years, but they did mention that they have ready to go whenever they start getting information a Starfield wiki site. I don't know what it's going to be called, but anyone who's familiar with the UESP is the biggest, most accurate wiki site for the Elder Scrolls stuff. So to have those guys handling all the Starfield stuff is going to be exciting as well, because they do such a good job with it. So I'm sure we'll be digging through those archives as well to help bring you some information. So awesome. Dave, thanks for being here. You have anything else you want to share, or ways people can get a hold of you before we go?
You can reach me at Twitter at Dave Chaffins, and pretty much anywhere else at Dave Chaffins. I'm pretty excited for Starfield, and I'm excited to be doing this show and continue bringing you the stuff. Me and Tom do other shows as well on the network, Robots Radio Network. I'm stealing your line now. If you want to check out all the Lorecast stuff, Tom has a number of different Lorecast shows that you can watch, including this one. Maybe you're into Elder Scrolls, maybe you're into Fallout, maybe you're into, I don't know, like Cyberpunk, like Mass Effect. Who knows? He's got them all, and they're fantastic.
Yeah. And this video, the video version of this, if you didn't catch it live on twitch.com, Twitch TV, I don't know where we are. Twitch.com.tv/Robots Radio. If you want to check out all the images that we pulled up on screen, you can go watch this video. It will be up on the Robots Radio YouTube channel. Maybe at some point we're going to move all this stuff over to its own Starfield Lorecast YouTube channel, which I haven't set up yet. But for right now, this will be on the Robots Radio YouTube channel. You can check out all the images that we have with the video. But I also stream live in the mornings on the Robots Radio YouTube channel, so you can come hang out with me and ask questions about this stuff. Feel free to do that. And I think that's it. Otherwise, come hang out with us. If you have any questions about Starfield, also another wonderful place you can do that is on the Robots Radio Discord. Dave and I are both on there, and jump on in. So
I look at our channel, and I look at the Fallout Hub, which is another show that we do in the Starfield channel, and I answer anybody has a question for me, I answer it. Yes. Guaranteed.
Yes. So tell us what you're most excited about for Starfield and what you think about all the latest news. We'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll have another episode out, and we'll see you around. All right. Stay safe out there in the universe. And until next time, I don't know, play some of that music. Check it out. See if you like it. I bet you will. See you guys later.
Listening to the podcast. We hope that you enjoyed this show.
Did you know that parodies are copyright protected?
Tell a friend and review
on iTunes
or other services. Dave and Tom excited for Starfield. Let's all speculate and wear no shoes.
Hey, why aren't we wearing any shoes?
Because shoes rhymes with iTunes, and that's the best I could think of.